The Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro are extremely interesting flagships that's unlike their predecessors, because for the first time ever, there's just so little difference in specs between the two and they share similar benefits, such as IP68 water and dust resistance, fast wireless charging, and more importantly, their camera systems are certified by Leica despite sporting different camera hardware, which is so unlike other companies that tends to remove certain features on the regular models of the series in favor of selling the higher end model. Despite that, we're still going to talk about which one you should go for. And here's a spoiler alert, we are also going to compare the main camera of the Xiaomi 13 Pro to the vivo X90 Pro, because these phones feature the same 50.3 megapixel Sony IMX99 1-inch sensor as their main shooter. But before that, here's my thoughts on the Xiaomi 13 series after using them for a week. The Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro are really nice looking smartphones, and I totally love how both phones feel when I hold them in my hand. I'm most surprised that even though the Pro is a larger device, it doesn't feel that much heavier than its sibling. In terms of displays, they're both OLED displays and you get 6.36 inches on the Xiaomi 13 and 6.73 inches on the Xiaomi 13 Pro. Both refresh at 120Hz, but the Pro has a higher 1440p resolution and supports adaptive refresh rate, while the 13 can only operate 60Hz and 120Hz at Full HD. The real surprise here is that they both support Dolby Vision HDR and can hit the same peak brightness of 1900 nits. On the other hand, the Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro uses flat and curved glass respectively. Even though I like that the 13 Pro's display curvature is flatter like the S23 Ultra, I prefer the Xiaomi 13's display because it is just the right size for one-handed usability. Both phones feature stereo speakers with support for Dolby Atmos spatial audio. They sound really good and have about the same max volume. The Xiaomi 13 series are powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chip, and they will be sold here with a 12GB RAM and 256GB base storage configuration. I was told by Xiaomi that for the first time, they will be bringing in a higher storage variant for the Xiaomi 13 Pro to our market, which is great news for mobile photographers. Software-wise, they ship with MIUI 14 running on top of Android 13, which is the best software release that I've ever experienced on a Xiaomi device, as it doesn't come infested with ads and preloaded bloatware. It is also very snappy and reliable, which I haven't found any weird UI bugs like I used to on the previous version. Like other Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 phones I've come across, the Xiaomi 13 series have been very reliable when it comes to performing intensive tasks. I did a 10-minute video recording at outdoors and ran the 3D Mark Wildlife Extreme Loop stress test. Both phones have managed to survive without shutting down, and I'm most impressed with their thermals during these tests, because they merely stayed warm and doesn't feel scorching hot like last year's flagship. Now, let's finally get into the highlight of this review, the cameras, and we are going to start off with the software. The camera app is a little different from the usual Xiaomi phones. You get to choose between two color profiles, as in Leica Authentic and Leica Vibrant. There's also Leica filters for you to choose from, and I absolutely love the Pro mode as it offers very comprehensive image controls that's hard to come by on other flagships. The same can be said about video recording within the Pro mode, as both phones support recording in lock color profile and have useful features such as focus speaking, exposure verification, and adjusting audio recording volume while recording. Overall, this is one of the most comprehensive camera software I have ever seen on a smartphone. I'm really happy that despite having different camera sensor hardware, both phones come equipped with a wide, ultra-wide, and telephoto lens with only slightly different focal lengths for their ultra-wide lenses. That's 23mm for the main shooter, 40mm for the ultra-wide on the 13 Pro, and 50mm on the 13, 75mm for the telephoto. Both phones also feature a 2x zoom where it crops into their respective main sensor for a lossless zoom. When it comes to the main camera, I am extremely surprised with the color consistency they have, despite being two different camera sensors in good lighting. Although when it comes to low light, the Xiaomi 13 Pro's 1-inch sensor begins to show its advantage with better colors and detail in high ISO sensitivity. As for the ultra-wide and telephoto lens, I have to admit that I have a hard time deciding which is better because they are equally good at colors and details on both outdoor and low lighting conditions. Well, not unless you start zooming into these photos and you might just find the Pro slightly better at details. But really, it isn't a day and night difference. The Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro's front camera is serviced by a common 32-megapixel f2.5 camera that we have seen on other smartphones. Although it isn't Leica certified, it still takes very decent selfies and portraits. In the video recording department, this is where the Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro start to differ. Though both their main cameras are capable of taking up to 8K 24fps videos, only the Xiaomi 13 Pro is capable of taking 4K 60fps for all of its lenses, while the Xiaomi 13's ultra-wide lens is limited to 4K 30fps, which is still very good video resolutions despite that. However, when it comes to the job, the Xiaomi 13 Pro is better in terms of details and stabilization. It is especially noticeable in low-light videography, where the Xiaomi 13 Pro has the advantage of lowering noise levels, all thanks to larger sensors. Overall, these are one of the best flagship Android phones I've come across that does well in video recording. Now, let's take a look at the image quality of photos and videos from the Xiaomi 13 Pro's and vivo X90 Pro's main camera. Although they both technically employ the same Sony IMX989 sensor, the vivo X90 Pro has a larger f1.7 aperture, a dedicated V2 ISP chip, and the well-known Zeiss T-Star gloss coating that excels at reducing light flare. So naturally, you can see that between these low-light camera samples, the Xiaomi 13 Pro is unfortunately no match for the vivo X90 Pro. The latter brightens up the scene while impressively retains detail with low noise levels. It also eliminates light flare better than the Xiaomi 13 Pro's anti-reflective coating. The X90 Pro can, however, be a little extreme in sharpening images, which some may not like. In videos, the X90 Pro also does better than the Xiaomi 13 Pro in low-light 4K video recording when it comes to colors, details, and stabilization, which is all thanks to that dedicated V2 ISP chip. And it kind of makes you wonder if Qualcomm had really put up a real effort in optimizing the Spectra ISP of the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for the Xiaomi 13 Pro's main camera. Battery life on both the Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro is excellent like other Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 smartphones. They easily last 2 days with 3 hours of screen on time with 5G turn on. There's 67 and 120 watts fast charging for the Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro respectively if you want to get back fast from low battery. But if you don't use the proprietary charging bricks, they only support 20 watts USB PD charging. The Xiaomi 13 and 13 Pro are worthy sequels and offer so much more from their predecessors. They are easy recommendations for anyone looking for a great flagship camera phone, and to be very honest with you, I find the Xiaomi 13 to have better value even though it lacks the 1-inch sensor and has a smaller display. The Leica partnership has most certainly helped propel the camera's flagship phone camera capabilities, but with other smartphone brands doing similar collaborations and some are even doing custom ISP for the cameras, Xiaomi sure has a tough fight ahead, and the pricing strategy for these new flagships no longer gives it a competitive edge like it used to. Ultimately, I find the Xiaomi 13 series to be an almost perfect package that a flagship phone needs to be in 2023. And it is going to be interesting to see how far Xiaomi and Leica could go together like how the latter did with Huawei. But what do you think about the Xiaomi 13 series? Are you keen on getting one or would you go for other flagships? Let me know about it in the comments. And as for now, that's all for today and thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to us and give us a thumbs up if you love it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.